reach the dipsticks on and check things. Unlike that VW.
Audi?
I'm sorry, Audi. Antifreeze is a little low because it's a 32-year-old truck. And the radiator leaks. Had it fixed twice, but about time to replace the radiator. But check the antifreeze before using it. Keep a lot of mix around. Makes it easy. It's not that hard. Only driving about 6 miles each way. Basically, you do a walk around before any trip. Check your tires. Even if you're not checking pressures, you take a look at them, make sure they're not bulging or have any outstanding problems. We've had some when we're hauling water in the winter. I might have put a picture here or not, but of a tire or sidewall that ballooned out. I called it a wall wart. But it was at 25 below and we were going to get another load. Well, you don't get another load, you go change your tires. So. But anyway, we're all set for winter, but winter hasn't hit us here yet. It's about to. We're going to go get some heating oil. But you just give your truck a older vehicle, but you walk around and make sure nothing jumps out at you. We'll see you on down the road. Okay, getting the old Dodge going here. Cummins diesel warming up. Cummins 12 valve. And the truck's doing really good. It's got 148,000 miles on it. The main problem you have in Alaska is a lot of times the gaskets and engine seals start going. And so then a lot of times it takes a lot of labor to fix some of the gaskets, so it just depends which ones. Anyway, this truck has a lot of history. We got it brand new in the 90s, and 26 years ago, one of my several trips in and out of Alaska, I drove out and brought my bride back from Oregon and all her belongings with my equipment trailer. A lot of times I haven't shown my equipment trailer much, but I went to Oklahoma to get this equipment trailer. And that was 9,007 miles road trip to go get the trailer. I could have picked it up with 3,000 miles each way, so that'd be 6,000 miles, like in Washington or Minnesota, Montana. But I might as well, if I'm going that far, go all the way to the factory and get what I wanted. So anyway, that was one trip, and then I went down to Arizona, brought back a 54 Ford Crown Victoria for some extended relatives, and then I went and picked up my wife, or soon-to-be wife, out of Oregon, and brought all of her and her belongings back to Alaska. So those are some of the adventures we've had with the truck. Okay, we're going to get some heating fuel to top off our tank so we're good for winter. We just saw the geese fly by last night. We had 2 big V's flying through the sky and they were squawking. So the geese are heading south. Winter's right around the corner. We're gonna go get some heating fuel. We came out and did some patching on the road today, filled some potholes. It's been raining a lot here. That tends to make us a lot of potholes, and trying to get it done so we have a smooth road in the winter. Otherwise we have to wait for enough snow and ice to pack in the holes. this little construction zone they had over here. They did it pretty quick before the end of winter. They paved it up. But they tore this up and redid this, the width of this road, put a little shoulder on it, redid the ditches and paved it right before the end of summer. So they cranked it out pretty quick. At the top of this road, when we're going the other direction, we're hauling water with my daughter. Actually, we were empty at the time, but we're coming up and a calf moose came out of one of these driveways, ran out in front of us. We veered off the road, and so by veering, we didn't hit the moose with the grill, but the moose ran into the driver's side of our truck. Its neck was long enough that its head was above the hood line, so we saw its eyes bulge out. It fell down on the ice and then got back up and ran off. My daughter was real shocked, but the moose was fine. There wasn't any bleeding, and it got up and ran away. It was startled, if anything. We were startled as well, but quick reaction helped mitigate the situation. So instead of hitting it, it hit us. So it's probably more info than they need to know, but the speed sensor has a worn spot in it. So it won't shift gears. So sometimes you have to accelerate a little bit, and then you back off just a little bit, then it drops into that third gear. Otherwise, it just keeps winding up. Probably a little dip going there, like a sinkhole or something. Probably good to have a dirty windshield. And somebody on the internet like, hey, why don't you wash your windshield? Some feedback. Okay, so here at the fill station, we expect to see a line of people because everyone got their permanent fund dividend and everyone has winter to heat on. With this great weather, it's time to move heating oil to be ready for winter. When the fuel is busy here, like you park here at the end of the pad, waiting for the pump, the high-speed pumps to open up. But when people are waiting, they'll park all the way out on this road, and they'll be on the side of that road all the way out to the frontage road. That's as far as I've seen it, with about probably 8 vehicles or 10 vehicles parked here at a time, and people waiting their turn. It all depends on the price of fuel or for gas. So anyway, so that's the way we do it out here. But we get a lot more savings by hauling our own fuel. That I calculated the heating oil company moves it 6 miles to our house, but I save roughly $1 for every gallon that I haul. So I haul 100 gallons at a time. So every time it's $100 bill savings when I haul it to our house. That, and they would normally, I've asked for a couple of years, I was on autofill, but they wouldn't fill us up in the summer like they should. They wait until November, December, and they filled us up a couple times that way, which kind of ruins your holidays because you get a big couple $1,000 bill for heating oil. But you're also going into winter with not much tank reserves. So if there was a weather event and they couldn't get to us, we could run out of fuel. So I got fed up with them, but I was working remote, so we kept it for a while. But now that I'm home and I have more time and we save money, we haul our own fuel. normally I get authorization inside, so I don't have to run the credit card 3 times. But they got employee shift change, so you just have to do the credit card here like 3 times. Limits your value. Open the tank, high-speed pump. Okay, so the clerk came out and can take my ID, and then I don't have to run the credit card much times. And I pay them when I'm done. They had a problem with people pulling off, so they just require your ID, fill up, and you come in and pay your bill. So it'll be a couple $100. So heating oil right now is $2.98 a gallon, but the reason you want to buy heating oil instead of diesel is diesel you'd be paying highway tax, and this is basically heating oil or the same as off-road diesel, so you could run it in heavy equipment, anything that's not on the roadway, diesel apparatus. But on the road, like the vehicle, we go buy at the diesel pump, so we have the ultra low sulfur diesel. But when I buy the heating oil, it saves you probably, I forget what the tax rates are, but quite a bit. I think it's probably 80 cents, 70, 80 cents per gallon, something like that. I think it all adds up to. So, okay, so we were on autofill, and we were paying like, the thing is we got a discount, but everybody gets a discount. They have like 17 prices for one product, fuel oil. And so then they charge you a delivery fee or whatever, and they're supposed to do calculations as what the heat rate is to know when you need fuel. Anyway, so one time with autofill, they came to fill us up and they didn't have enough on the trucks, but then they never came back. So they only gave us a couple 100 gallons in March, and come the next fall, they still didn't fill us up. They ran us into Thanksgiving, into the winter with like 100 gallons in the tank. We have a 1,000-gallon tank. And so the real problem there is that's not why we own a 1,000-gallon tank. We own it so we can have the reserve instead of be on the edge. And then when they came to fill us up, they fill us up between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then you get like several $1,000s of a bill for heating oil right between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Kind of ruins your Christmas. Well, and I pointed out to them and they didn't correct their problems. They did it a couple times. Well, then I finally came back into town for work. And so by being in town for work, I then just do it ourselves. It saves us. contrast on this video compared to the one that we made at like, I don't know, it was 15 or 20 below, something like that. Nice fall day here. But make sure there's no debris. And I have this attached to a long drill bit just so I can force it to the bottom of the tank, get a siphon going. The AC pump I have on the tank quit working on me, and I was going to buy another pump until I saw the price. So then I just kind of been dragging my heels a little bit. But the siphon still works. We use a siphon for now, and eventually I'll probably buy a 12-volt powered pump so I can just run off the truck and not off the AC. But the AC, a relative gave it to me, so I figured I'd use that. I replaced the hose. They had a kind of a weathered hose on there, so I put an Arctic grade hose on there and fuel filter. But then I also noticed that they rebuilt the nozzle, and so the nozzle doesn't shut off. So the auto shut off doesn't work on it. So that whole thing needs to be replaced. Time to just go to another pump. But, so as I tried to show in the past, if we use hand jugs, I set a couple bricks here, because then you can get it started and you don't have to hold the tank on those lousy nozzles the tank uses. And I had to use a funnel anyway. So make sure that everything reaches, make sure that everything's clear and no debris. That's how you start a siphon with a shop vac. It's a nice flow going. I got a nice size hose here, so about 12 to 15 minutes that'll be transferred. I think that's about what took us, about 12 minutes. But you can come and listen to the tank. You can hear it flowing pretty good there. It comes in at about 8 to 10 gallons a minute. And so 100 gallons will be 10 minutes. So usually about 10, 12 minutes. It'll be done. And as long as I watch where the pickup is in the truck, it does pretty good, and then we make another lap. So that's all it takes, not a lot of labor. So one time I was out of town. My daughter was watching the neighbor's house while they were gone on a long vacation. And so my daughter was house sitting, and she woke up and she was really cold, and the cats were all cuddled up to her under the blankets. And her nose was kind of red. So she called me up at work. I was at a remote site, and said, well, to me it sounds like you ran out of heating oil. But we'll call the furnace repair guy anyway, just so he takes a look at it, because it's not worth the freeze up. I had her check the thermostat, and she was in the 40s. And so the house can lose temperature pretty quick there in the winter. Sometimes it takes a day or two. But basically she hadn't had fuel overnight. And so my wife went over there and got my daughter, and they went and got a couple of 5-gallon cans of heating oil and started putting that in, getting that over there and putting it in the tank by the time the heating repair guy was there. And sure enough, he reset the furnace and it was out of fuel. But we wanted him there to make sure there weren't any air bubbles or anything, and make sure everything was working. It's not worth having the house freeze up. It makes a big mess if you start having your pipes freeze and break. So that's why we have heating oil, small cans to go get some heating oil, because then we can save friends and family or when they have those problems. So the issue they had with that house sitting in the house and running out of heating oil, we had freezing icy weather, and so the heating oil company said they couldn't make it there and they'd be there the next day. Well, then they forgot, and so it'd been a while. So then they went on their trip. This is like their first week that they were gone, and they ran out of heating oil. So contacted the heating oil company. This happened on a Sunday. We got her going on some cans, but the owner and his son came out with the truck, and they're real apologetic, and they got them filled up with heating oil. But it was a pretty close call for them. So that's what happens. So this is a fill spill device. Supposedly this was invented here locally, and our heating oil company was selling it for a while. It basically clamps onto your breather pipe. Normally you have like either a vent cap here or you have a 90, and they hang a 5-gallon can on the 90. So that way if they overfill the tank, it burps into the 5-gallon can and they take it with them. But the fill spill, it fills this up and then it can drain back into the tank. So it gives a little buffer so you don't spray. If this fills up, which we had them do, it then creates a spray cone and then hits all the snow around the area. Like our second or third fill from that company, they did that because the operator was sitting up in the truck. It was a good 25 below or so, 30 below. And they were sitting in the truck instead of monitoring the fill. Those are just some of the devices that are out there. What we had in the past is I put trash cans around this, so that way they'd work as a secondary containment as well. I put light concrete in them. They lasted for 15, 20 years. But I've taken them out because they finally got busted up. Now, our stick is kind of getting worn. Being out in the sun is taking some of the numbers off. Here's the $1,000 side, or 1,000-gallon side. Run all the way to the bottom. And we see where the mark is right here. And so we're sitting around $5.99 or so. Right there. This is 618. $5.89. Yeah, I think we're around $5.20. It's probably $5.28. Hard to tell by the numbers, but out of our 1,000-gallon tank. So, out of our 1,000-gallon tank, we're sitting at about $5.28, I think, something like that. So a few more trips, and we'll be set for the winter, so we don't have to mess with it in the winter, and we can get the summer price of fuel. So, gotta do it while the sun shines. Please like and subscribe. This is Alaska Road Trippers. We'll be seeing you on down the road.